Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to do a fuel pump replacement on our Durango. We've diagnosed it in a previous video, so if you want to check that out, go ahead and visit my page. You can look at the diagnostics of the fuel pump. We've had a couple issues with the car. Here you'll see a very watered down version of replacing the pump. I'm not going step by step, real detailed, just kind of a general idea of how to do it, and some simple steps and some things to take a look at while you're there.
Alright, we are under the Durango and starting to disassemble everything to be able to drop the tank so we can replace the fuel pump. So I've got these two hose clamps loose. This is the fuel filler into the tank. This is a vent line, partly for emissions, partly so that you can actually fill the tank. We'll talk about that later. So those are loose. We're going to pull those hoses off. Over here at the front of the tank, we've got the carbon canister, and I've taken that line right there loose. That goes up to the tank. Everything else there is not connected to the tank. So now we've got to take this nut loose, and it'll loosen that, take that strap off. There's another one here. Oh, let's see, right up here. Take this strap off, and then the tank can come down. As it lowers, there's electrical that we'll have to undo and fuel lines from the fuel pump. Alright, we got the straps unbolted. We got the hoses undone from the car. That small one there didn't want to come off. It's just brittle and dry and wouldn't come past the lip on the end, so we're going to replace that one. So I just cut it to get it out. This is the fuel pump right here. So we disconnected a hose from here, an electrical connector from here. The hose that went to the carbon canister, this guy here, runs along the tank, goes in there, and here. So we'll disconnect that. This lock ring twists and unlocks, and then the whole fuel pump will come out as an assembly. We'll replace it and put it back together, and that will be a video for tomorrow. Alright, so take the pump off. You want to start with some compressed air. Just take a blower, blow off all the dirt. I've already done it, but you want to get all the dirt from around here off and clear so that it doesn't fall into the tank. And then we've got to get this ring off, the lock ring off. So you're going to take a pry bar, a chisel, something like that, and a hammer, and just tap it around. Once it's unlocked, you pop that off, and the pump will pop up. Now these pumps like this is all a fuel bowl. It holds fuel in it. So you got to be careful not to just dump fuel everywhere. So we're going to pull it out and pour the fuel back into the car. Alright, so a couple things to note on this pump. So this is your fuel level sensor. If you look on here real close, you can see a couple things. There's a bunch of little tiny lines. They're little tiny wires. It's a resistor. As this moves up and down, the resistance here changes, and that's what tells your fuel level gauge how much fuel you've got. More resistance, lower voltage; less resistance, higher voltage, and that changes the needle in your car. This sock right here is a fuel filter. Some cars will also have an inline filter somewhere in the fuel line. This car does not. This is the only filter on this car. This right here is the seal. Your new pump should come with a new one. It's super important that that seals well. It's for emissions, it's so you don't leak gas. There's all sorts of reasons you want that to seal well. But that's your pump. So the pump is actually quite a bit smaller, but it sits inside this bowl. This bowl fills up with fuel to help keep the pump cooler. The pump's in there, it runs fuel through this hose up and out there. Alright, so the new pump, you want to look it over, look inside, make sure everything's connected. double check your connector and your hose fittings to make sure that they are the same as the original one. Just look it over, make sure it's the right part, because it always sucks to have the wrong part and have to take it back, and sometimes they don't take it back if it's already installed. So just double check everything, make sure you're good. Again, make sure your seal is there, make sure everything is clean. So I'm going to carefully try to get a little bit of this leftover dirt up and out. It's out of the way of the sealing area, but again, you don't want dirt in your fuel tank. Just makes sense. On the top here, there's a little locating tab. Gotta make sure that goes back in the same place the other one came out of. In this case, it's right here. It's kind of hard to see because it's dirty. But slide your fuel level sensor down in. This is a pretty easy one. Kind of get it centered. This top part is spring loaded. Push it down into place. Being careful of your seal. Make sure it goes into the channel for that locator. And that's it. And then you just put this back on it. And we're going to rotate this the other way around to lock it in. Just tap it back on. Kind of have to work side to side to get it to lock on, and sometimes you have to use two people on each side to get it on. We may have to do that with this one. We'll see. I think we just got it. Alright, so then we're just going to plug in all of our hoses. That one's there. We'll have to get it up in place, plug in our electrical and our fuel outlet hose. Get everything bolted back up. We'll prime the car with the key a couple of times, and we're all done. Alright guys, so like you saw, that's how you replace the fuel pump on a Dodge Durango. Again, this one's a 2000. Make sure you always go through the proper diagnostic steps before replacing a fuel pump. It's never fun to replace a fuel pump only to find out that wasn't the issue. So make sure and check everything out. Like I said, check out my diagnostic video. You can go through that. And feel free to ask questions as you have them as well.